On February 6, 1996, Chance Rides filed a patent for a new type of ride that promised to be more thrilling than almost any ride before it, all while being relatively inexpensive and completely portable on just one trailer. Named the Chaos, the ride was based on the design of the Enterprise, which had become extremely popular in the previous 2 decades. The ride would take the basic design of an Enterprise, a spinning wheel on a lifting hydraulic arm, and turn up the thrill. It featured 18 rider vehicles, each seating 2 riders, giving 36 riders per cycle. The ride was a giant wheel with these seats fixed to the end. The wheel would spin counterclockwise at up to 12 revolutions per minute. The 18 seats were able to tilt and spin on their own axis. Additionally, the entire ride could be lifted up into the air 70 degrees by a hydraulic lifting arm, much like an Enterprise. At the top of this arm, there was a separate hydraulic system that could independently control the tilt of the disc the riders were attached to. This meant that the Chaos could be elevated to the top of the hydraulic arm, but still spinning horizontally. On some rides, this could be controlled by the operator, leading to even more thrill. The ride also featured restrictive restraints consisting of an over-the-shoulder restraint as well as a part leg, part knee bar designed to keep riders' legs safely inside the car. This gave the Chaos a low 48-inch or 122cm height requirement. This gave it the flexibility to be both a family ride and a high-thrill ride. With the ride seeming to offer so many advantages as well as coming at a relatively low cost compared to other rides of similar thrill levels, the ride was initially a huge success, with 52 being built from 1996 to 2001. Models of the Chaos were popping up basically everywhere, from fairgrounds to small parks like Michigan's Adventure and Indiana Beach, to huge parks like Cedar Point and Six Flags Great Adventure. The ride was also well received by riders, with many praising its variety as well as no 2 cycles being the same. In fact, at first the only complaints involved riders who found the ride to be a little bit too intense. But unfortunately, the Chaos would not prove to be as perfect as it promised to be. The ride featured some operational challenges that meant it was challenging to operate for some parks. For example, it had to be balanced, meaning that one side of the ride had to have roughly the same amount of riders as the other in order for the ride to operate properly. If this was not done, the ride would struggle to operate and would experience more mechanical wear and tear. The Chaos had to be balanced with a variance of less than 680 pounds or 306 kilograms from one side of the ride to the other. With a lot of these rides going to small parks with lower attendance that would often not have enough riders to load the entire ride, or who lacked enough operator training, many of these rides wore out quickly. Additionally, several Chaos rides experienced major mechanical issues, some of which caused serious accidents. On June 20th, 1997, Chance issued a service bulletin requiring Chaos owners to rework the wiring leading to the restraint indicator light used on the ride. It was used to show if restraints were working properly and secured. This was due to the wires moving around a lot inside the seat and potentially breaking. On July 7th, 1999, Chance would issue a second service bulletin, this time more serious. It was related to cracks forming on the backside of the over-the-shoulder restraints that could compromise its security. If owners of Chaoses were to discover any cracks, they would need to notify Chase immediately and receive new redesigned restraints. Now, the greatest issue with the Chance Chaos occurred on July 30th, 2001 at Michigan's Adventure. The ride was at its maximum height and swinging at 70 degrees when suddenly the entire rotating ring of the ride broke off the main hub and struck the ground, rolling shortly like it was in a movie. Once the ride stopped and rescue workers arrived, the ride had to be stabilized as it was at risk of falling over and further harming riders. Once this was all done, 33 riders could be removed, with some being trapped for up to 9 hours. All riders thankfully survived, but 31 of the 33 were taken to the hospital. The ride was closed forever and the investigation started. The investigation would eventually determine that maintenance teams at Michigan's Adventure were only inspecting the bolts responsible for holding the rider wheel visually. Over time, these bolts got loose and the lateral loading on these bolts caused them to shear and break. The accident stained the reputation of the Chaos, and very few more were sold after this accident. In 2007, Chance discontinued the model, making replacement parts much harder to find. By this point, several installations of the ride had already been removed, with Great Adventure closing theirs in 2005 after only operating for 7 years. After the ride was discontinued, other parks would remove their Chaos, with Cedar Point removing theirs in 2010. As of 2024, no Chaos rides remain operating. One of the last was Chaos at the Adventure Dome in Las Vegas. Many chaoses at parks that once had them remain in those parks' ride graveyards, as there was very little interest from secondhand buyers in purchasing the rides. Parts of these rides still linger on in parks they were once installed at. For example, Cedar Point has kept the backdrop of their chaos and now uses it for a 3-point shootout basketball game on the boardwalk, though the backdrop has now been repainted. The chaos promised a lot, and for a time it was a hugely successful ride. Today it only exists in the memories of those who got to ride one. Did you get to ride a chaos? What was your thoughts? As always, if there was something incorrect in this video or we missed something, please let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and see you next week. Also, don't forget that you can access the entire season of Flat Ride Friday right now by becoming a channel member.